Welcome to Will at Work. I'm Kevin. Today we're looking at the AGP, and this isn't really a console in the traditional sense. It's something I just wanted to talk about a little bit for a second, and give you some thoughts on the whole console collecting process. This particular thing is a LCD game, and it has been around since at least the mid-90s. And it was called all sorts of silly things. There was a ProTech 200, I think they used to advertise on TV. There was a commercial for it. I will put the link in the show notes to that funny commercial on YouTube. You can see it, where they try to tell you to throw away your games, because this is the system that has everything you need, etc. And it really is just a very cheap. You can still find them today in all kinds of different configurations. Game, player that I'm pretty sure that there's no ROM involved here. All of these games are probably on some sort of single microchip, and they just package a generic controller around it and sell it that way. In this case, they call it the Advanced Game Player, Advanced Game Player 2, Advanced Game Player X, and they all play the same games. None of these have got any improvements on any of the other ones. They're all bad. I think maybe one has a backlit screen, one doesn't. Let's go ahead and turn it on. I'm going to play some music here. And you can play the game. This is like racing. It's thrilling shit, let me tell you. It's also really loud and annoying. And so what they did is the original one, I believe, I never had it, and I don't even know if it's the original one, the ProTech 200, was a calculator, and then it added a bunch of games that you could select by using the system. And I think, in a weird way, that one was more advanced than the later ones, because what they did with these later ones is they gave you these little cartridges, right? And this little cartridge here says it's G Kart Racing 3 and H Hit Brick for the AGP2. Well, this is the AGP, and it still works. Reason why is because all of these things do is they are a jumper. It's just a circuit that's saying play this game versus that game. All the games are inside of here, the unit itself. There's no ROM on here or anything. It's just telling it which games to select. So it comes with the 4 cartridges, each with 2 games. We get the Snake Game, Fill Brick, Tank Game, Star Battle, and Car Racing 2 and D Pinball 2, as well as this one. And it gives you that storage on the unit. And if I look at, say, another set that came with AGP2, you get the same thing. Car Racing 3 Hit Brick, Snake Game, Fill Brick, Tank Game, Star Battle, Car Racing 2 Pinball, right? And, take any of these out from any of these systems, and you're going to get the same 4 games. And I think that there was some sort of version of Tetris on the original one as well that may have been built in. It may actually be built into these, I don't know. I haven't spent that much time. They're very cheaply made, hollow garbage. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I want to talk about, because it's just showing you a garbage Chinese system set, for educational purposes, isn't really what I'm after here. One of the things about collecting is that, how do you distinguish what is garbage and what is not? So the Microvision that came out in the 70s that we've looked at previously. Took processor cartridges, ROM carts, and it had a LCD matrix screen, very similar to this one, but maybe half the resolution, right? And it enabled you to play very simple games like these, you know, almost in some cases exactly like these. And it didn't have great sound. It didn't have digital control. It just had one trackball, although some of the games included buttons on them because the buttons were the whole faceplate of the unit. Basically, the unit itself just provided power, a single control, you know, speaker, etc. The actual game was on the cartridge. So we, as collectors, say, hey, the Microvision is the world's first handheld game system, and you know, we include it in our collection of video games. And sure, right. So why do we exclude this? It's difficult to say because you know, maybe if the cartridges were ROM carts and not jumper carts, and it wasn't a standalone system, and it was making graphics, it would be so close to the Microvision, we'd have to say, yep, that's a game system, and we have to take it. Just like Game Boy is just a very advanced, you know, matrix display that takes ROM carts. But here we don't have ROM carts, so we're saying no ROM cart, so just standalone system. But I don't know, we're looking at, like, you know, some of these handheld color games that come with built-in games don't take cartridges, and we include those as a game system, right? So really it is a game system. This is a game system. I know we talk about consoles. Consoles is such a weird thing, you know. What defines a console? It doesn't really matter. What we talk about is game systems. But you gotta kind of draw the line as a collector. Like, I don't collect LCD games. Like, I occasionally will pick something up that's kind of rare, like this Variety from VTech, right? Where it's like got an LCD screen, and you would open up the back like this, and you could take out the game, and you could put in a different game, which is exactly the same kind of thing, right? All the game is on here. This is just a shell that sort of holds the battery and the, you know, the controls, and they just sell you this screen and stuff, and you pop it in there and pop it down, and you know, you can play your LCD Game & Watch type of thing, right? I don't collect these. Like, occasionally I'll get one for some sort of nostalgic value, but I don't. There's so many of these, so many Tiger ones, etc. They go on and on throughout history. There are people that do, and in so doing, we don't really call these video game consoles. We don't really call them video games, right? We call them electronic games, or we call them, you know, electronic handhelds, which we define as being different than a handheld video game system, like a Lynx or a Game Gear or a Game Boy, you know, or even the Switch where we're at today. It's video versus LCD in most cases. But in the case of the Microvision, even though it's LCD, we still count it as video game system. So is it the LCD needs to make graphics that defines it as suddenly being a video game system? It's really just a matter of, as you as a collector, what are you interested in? What are you going to collect, and what aren't you going to collect? You know. So for me, I draw the line. I don't collect electronic LCD type handheld systems. If they make graphics, they probably have to have a ROM cart of some sort, or be substantially well known, have a sort of a market presence or something. Or something like this, I would not count, simply because it's just a cheap little toy type of thing that's not really, you know, anything more than a time waster for somebody who's really bored back in the 90s. But it's interesting. It's just interesting how you define, you know, this sort of hobby if you want to call it that, of collecting, and you know, what is and is not a game system. So just kind of wanted to show you these. You know, I'll probably just shove them in someone's stocking at some point. You know, I get these sometimes from making purchases. People throw things in, etc. So yeah, AGP. Watch that video. I'll put it in the show notes. Crack you up. Thanks for watching. Show you something that's got some video in it tomorrow.